Chicago Sky fans, y'all need to be very, very careful in this moment. You need to be very, very careful. It looks like Angel Reese wants out, y'all. Angel Reese seems to be looking for a way out of the dumpster fire that is the Chicago Sky. And I gotta be honest with you, I don't blame her.
The Chicago Sky just witnessed their championship-winning coach completely lose it on national television, and what he revealed about Angel Reese will shock you to your core. Tyler Marsh, the man who helped build back-to-back WNBA champions in Las Vegas, just delivered the most brutal takedown of a franchise player we've ever seen, and the reason why will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about professional basketball. Chicago Sky fans need to brace themselves because what's happening behind closed doors is far worse than anyone imagined. Angel Reese, the player who was supposed to be the cornerstone of this franchise, has essentially vanished from her team during their most crucial stretch of the season. We're talking about a player who showed up and played 32 minutes against Washington on July 29th, but suddenly developed a mysterious back injury that has kept her away from not just games, but from supporting her teammates entirely.
And a lot of people are, calling out Angel Reese right now, and I think we are in a world where, when it comes to Angel Reese, everything is under a microscope, and I think there are a lot of people that want to look at everything as a negative when it comes to her. Just like at the same time, it's the same thing with all these players. Like, everything stars do is going to be under a microscope. So for me anyway, this isn't the most serious thing in the world, but a lot of people were pointing out that Angel Reese did not show up to Cambridge.
Here's where things get really suspicious. Every other injured player in the WNBA has provided updates, shown their injuries, or at least appeared on the bench to support their teams. Caitlin Clark, Brianna Stewart, Ryan Howard, Jordan Canada, Kate Martin. We've seen them all battle through adversity and show up for their teammates. But Angel Reese, she's been posting cryptic messages on social media while her team hemorrhages games and falls completely out of playoff contention. The timing couldn't be more convenient for someone who built their entire brand around being a winner. This is the same player who quit on Unrivaled because her team was losing, transferred from Maryland when things got tough, and now has found another convenient exit strategy when facing the first real adversity of her professional career. The pattern is becoming impossible to ignore, and Tyler Marsh just called it out in the most savage way possible. But let's dive deeper into this mysterious injury situation, because the details will blow your mind. Angel Reese has been officially listed as day-to-day with a back injury since late July. Day-to-day in professional sports means you monitor the situation daily. Sometimes it feels better, sometimes worse, but you should be ready to play at any moment. That's literally what day-to-day means in basketball terminology.
Pick on Angel Reese that I'm sure will trigger a bunch of people.
Let's hear your take.
But I think Angel Reese, and I'm saying this with my chest out, I think she's quit.
Man, as much as I want to disagree with Jason, man, but I gotta admit, I think he's right. And I want to disagree with him so bad.
It's been weeks since that designation, and not only has Reese not played, she hasn't even traveled with the team for crucial games. While her teammates were getting destroyed by the Indiana Fever and other opponents, their supposed franchise player was nowhere to be found. Compare this to every other major injury in the league this season, where players have been transparent about their recovery process, provided updates to fans, and most importantly, showed up to support their teams from the sideline. The contrast is absolutely staggering when you realize that Reese was posting workout videos and social media content during this same period. She's apparently healthy enough to maintain her brand and online presence, but somehow too injured to sit on a bench and cheer for her struggling teammates. This isn't about physical capability. This is about someone who doesn't want to be associated with losing, even if it means abandoning the people who depend on her leadership. But let's talk about Tyler Marsh for a second, because this makes the situation even more devastating. This isn't some rookie coach having a meltdown. This is a man who spent years learning from the best, working alongside Becky Hammon to build the Las Vegas Aces into back-to-back champions, and he understands what championship culture looks like, what sacrifice means, and what happens when players buy into something bigger than themselves.
What's up with Angel Reese, man? There's a pattern with this whole injury thing. Okay, first of all, she has a back injury, and she's been gone for quite some time. But the report says is day to day. It's been more than a week. Okay, day to day is literally day to day. So, okay, sometimes it feels good, sometimes a little worse. Okay, let's just monitor it. But it should be good enough to play at any moment. That's what day-to-day is.
Marsh walked into Chicago believing he could work with young talent like Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso to create something special. He signed a multi-year deal with the expectation that he'd have committed players willing to grow and fight through adversity together. Instead, he inherited a roster construction nightmare, a locker room poisoned by selfish attitudes, and a franchise player who apparently crumbles the moment things don't go her way. The Vegas Aces culture that Marsh came from is built on players showing up regardless of circumstances. Ajah Wilson plays through minor injuries. Kelsey Plum supports her team even when she's not at her best. And Chelsea Gray leads by example in every situation. That's championship mentality, and it's exactly what's missing in Chicago right now. When Marsh arrived in Chicago, he brought championship principles and expected professional attitude. What he discovered was a franchise player more concerned with her social media presence than her team's success, veterans who couldn't contribute at a winning level, and a front office that had constructed one of the worst rosters in recent WNBA history. The breaking point came after another embarrassing blowout loss, this time a 38-point destruction by the Seattle Storm. The Sky's record had fallen to 8-23, one of the worst in franchise history, and the team was playing with just 8 available players because of injuries and mysterious absences. When reporters pressed Marsh about his team's effort and the mounting speculation surrounding Reese's mysterious absence, he finally unleashed the kind of raw honesty that cuts through all the political nonsense surrounding professional sport.
Three of our starters are out, and so yes, it's got something to do with that. But like I spoke last game, it's your will and ability to compete. It's something that you always have the ability to do, no matter who's on the roster, no matter who's suiting up. I think that we showed that today. I was very proud, very proud of our effort today. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. We had 8 players going into it. 1 we just signed 7 days ago. So it's tough to get everyone up to speed at the same time. But we came into today with the message of commit and compete. That's been our motto all year.
Marsh's comments were carefully diplomatic, but anyone who understands coach speak could read between the lines. When he talked about needing players who have the will to compete regardless of who's on the roster, he was directly addressing the elephant in the room. When he mentioned that professional basketball players should understand the importance of taking care of the ball and executing game plans, he was calling out the lack of accountability that starts at the top of the roster. Those words hit different when you realize he's talking about a team that's lost 10 of their last 11 games and is averaging less than 70 points during their recent stretch. This is a coach watching his professional reputation crumble in real time because his star player decided she'd rather protect her individual brand than fight alongside her teammate. The most telling part of Marsh's press conference wasn't what he said about Angel Reese directly, but how he talked about commitment and competing regardless of circumstances. He praised the effort of players who were fighting through adversity while subtly highlighting the absence of others who should have been leading that charge. But here's what makes this whole situation even more damaging: the Kennedy Carter saga that unfolded earlier this season. Carter led the Sky in scoring with 17.5 points per game, but was mysteriously released after reports of locker room drama. The fascinating part: Carter's cryptic social media posts after her release, particularly her comment about consistently making layups. A not-so-subtle dig at Reese, who shot just 42.4% on layup attempts, one of the worst percentages in the entire WNBA.
18 to 20 turnovers and giving up 25 points off these turnovers.
Yeah, it's never an excuse. The proof is in the details of what's been the difference in our wins and losses, and a lot of it turns into the ability to take care of the ball. And so it's never an excuse. Teams bring pressure. You got to handle the pressure. And so but our locker room is full of professional basketball players. So they understand the importance of it. It's just a matter of doing it.
The organization chose Angel Reese over their most productive offensive weapon, and the results speak for themselves. Carter, the supposed locker room problem, is now thriving in free agency, while actively mocking the team that cast her aside. Meanwhile, Reese, the player they chose to build around, has abandoned ship the moment her team needed her leadership most. What's becoming clear is that Carter wasn't the real problem in that locker room. She was just the player willing to call out the dysfunction that everyone else was too afraid to address. When you have a franchise player who celebrates opponents' mistakes more enthusiastically than her own team's successes, when you have someone who throws tantrums during games and slaps clipboards out of coaches' hands, the issue isn't the veteran trying to hold people accountable. This pattern reveals something deeply disturbing about Angel Reese's character. She celebrated on the sideline when Kennedy Carter knocked down Caitlin Clark, showing more excitement about someone else's failure than her own team's success. That mentality has now manifested in her apparent decision to protect her statistics and brand, rather than fight through adversity with her teammates. The Carter situation also exposed how the Sky's front office operates. Instead of addressing the real culture problems, they removed the symptom and kept the disease. Now they're dealing with the consequences of choosing individual talent over team chemistry, and the results couldn't be more obvious.
But if we're gonna be honest, we've seen everybody else that's injured, we've seen their injury. And we have also had updates and heard stuff about their injury. We've seen Caitlyn injury, we've seen Nafisa injury, we've seen Brianna Stewart injury, we've seen Ryan Howard injury, we've seen Jordan Canada injury, we've seen Kate Martin like last night get injured. Like, we've seen a lot of these injuries. We've seen Eric McDonald, we've seen Sydney Colson, we've seen and we've gotten updates. We didn't see Angel injury. We haven't heard no updates or anything.
Since Carter's departure, the Sky have been one of the worst offensive teams in the league. They're averaging under 75 points per game without their leading scorer, and the spacing issues that Carter's shooting helped mask have become glaringly obvious. The irony is delicious. They got rid of the problem player and immediately became exponentially worse at the thing Carter did best. But the problems go deeper than just Angel Reese or the Kennedy Carter situation. Tyler Marsh is being set up to fail by forces completely outside his control. The roster construction overseen by General Manager Jeff Pagloka is an absolute disaster that would challenge even the most experienced coaches in the league. They lost Courtney Vandersloot to a season-ending ACL injury early in the year, robbing them of veteran leadership and court vision. They traded away other experienced players and surrounded their young core with aging veterans who can't contribute at a championship level. The team has terrible spacing, which is a fatal flaw in today's WNBA, and their guards are shooting career-low percentages from three-point range because the offensive system doesn't create quality looks. The defense, which was supposed to be anchored by Reese's rebounding and Cardoso's rim protection, has been the worst in the league, allowing 89.5 points per game and a 46.9% field goal percentage to opponent. These aren't just bad numbers, they're historically awful statistics that make it virtually impossible to compete at a professional level.
Making her money in stat padding, but she can't handle losing. I should have known. It's the same pattern with her. Last year she had a wrist problem. This year she got a back problem. Next year what it's gonna be, Lord knows what it's gonna be. But all her 5 million followers that badly voted for her to be on the WNBA All-Star team, please don't try to convince us that quitting is the way to go, cause it is not. Quitting is unacceptable. She quit on Unrivaled because her team was losing. She quit on Maryland. You get me? And I'm pretty sure she would have quit on LSU if they wasn't stacked.
Pagliaca's roster construction decisions become even more mind-boggling when you realize they're paying significant money to players like Kia Nurse, Rachel Bannum, and Rebecca Allen, veterans who are essentially taking meaningful minutes away from younger players who could actually develop and contribute to the franchise's future. These are players who are clearly past their prime and can't provide the kind of production necessary for a winning team. The most damaging aspect of this roster disaster? The Chicago Sky don't even own their 2026 first-round draft pick. It belongs to the Minnesota Lynx. So this historically bad season isn't even going to result in a high draft pick that could help turn the organization around. They're suffering through one of the worst seasons in franchise history with literally nothing to show for it in terms of future assets. This is organizational malpractice of the highest order, and it puts Tyler Marsh in an impossible position. He's trying to implement championship principles with a roster that lacks the talent to execute those principles, and he's doing it with a franchise player who apparently doesn't want to be part of the solution. But discipline requires buy-in from your best players, and when your franchise player is sitting at home posting cryptic messages instead of supporting her teammates, that buy-in becomes impossible to achieve. Marsh learned championship culture in Las Vegas, where players show up hurt, support teammates through adversity, and hold each other accountable for mistakes. In Chicago, they apparently post on social media media and disappear when things get challenging. The social media activity tells the whole story about Angel Reese's mindset during this crisis. While the Chicago Sky was falling apart, losing game after game and watching their playoff hopes evaporate, Reese posted in due time a cryptic message that suggested she was planning her exit strategy rather than figuring out how to help her struggling team.
Angel Reese is the problem, the Chicago Sky. And I've been telling you this since last year. You're not going to win a championship the way that they're playing right now. I don't care if they have Nafisa on the team, Breanna Stewart, or even Angel on the team. If you play your offense through Angel Reese, you're never going to win a championship. Never. Never. Her way of playing already proved that the Chicago Sky will never win that way. They changed coaches. They changed players. They even traded draft picks. 2 years in, there's no improvement. Actually, they got worse.
This social media behavior reveals someone more concerned with managing her personal brand than addressing the immediate needs of her teammates. Instead of posting messages of support for her struggling squad, instead of showing up to games to provide encouragement from the sideline, she's been crafting mysterious posts that fuel speculation about her future plans. The timing of these posts is particularly telling. While Tyler Marsh was facing reporters and trying to explain his team's lack of effort, while her teammates were getting blown out by 30 points on national television, Angel Reese was creating content that suggested she was already mentally checked out of the situation. This is the same player who was caught slapping clipboards out of her coaching staff's hands during games earlier in the season. That incident showed the kind of toxic attitude that destroys team chemistry and undermines coaching authority. When your franchise player is physically lashing out at coaches trying to help the team succeed, you have a culture problem that goes far beyond basketball skills. Recent reports suggest that Reese has essentially demanded a trade or made it clear she wants out of Chicago. The writing is on the wall, and other organizations around the league are taking detailed notes about how this situation has unfolded. They can see what happened with Kennedy Carter. They can see how Reese handles adversity, and they can see the kind of culture problems that seem to follow certain players wherever they go. What makes this particularly damaging for Reese's future prospects is that front offices around the league aren't stupid. They understand that individual talent means nothing if that talent comes with character issues that poison team chemistry. They can see the pattern of quitting when things get difficult, the social media drama, and the inability to support teammates during challenging periods.
We have to be real. The management has been terrible. Jeff P, horrible. Tyler Marsh has been bad, but like I said, he doesn't have much talent on the team, so we don't know if he can actually coach or not. Now, why is people saying, is Angel Reese trying to force her way out of Chicago? Is she done with this organization already in just her second year? And it is a great question. I don't know if man, I think you got to move somebody. Cardoso, you have to get a influx of talent.
The Kennedy Carter situation will be studied by every team considering a trade for Angel Reese. Carter was a productive veteran who led the team in scoring, but was released after locker room issues that seemingly centered around conflicts with the franchise player. Now Carter is thriving elsewhere while mocking her former team, and Reese is trying to force her way out when faced with adversity. Smart organizations will ask themselves, do we want to bring in a player who has consistently shown that she'll abandon her teammates when things get tough? Do we want someone who celebrates opponents' failures more than her own team's successes? Do we want a player who throws tantrums during games and creates social media drama instead of focusing on basketball? What makes Tyler Marsh's situation so infuriating is that he might actually be a legitimate coaching talent with a bright future ahead of him. His resume with the Aces proves he understands winning basketball, player development, and how to build championship culture. But even the best coaches can't overcome players who refuse to be coached and front offices that don't support their vision with proper roster construction. The tragedy here is that Marsh walked into what should have been a dream situation: young talent, a franchise willing to invest in winning, and the opportunity to build something special from the ground up. Instead, he's learning the harsh lesson that talent without commitment is worthless, and that culture problems can destroy even the most promising situation. In Las Vegas, Marsh worked with players who understood that individual success comes through team success. Aja Wilson didn't become the league's best player by putting her personal brand above her team's needs. She became dominant by embracing the kind of selfless leadership that elevates everyone around her. That's the mentality Marsh expected to find in Chicago, and it's exactly what's been missing from day one.
We got the Chicago Sky general manager, Jeff P, throwing Angel Reese under the bus? Jeff P said he's had enough of missed layups. Oh my God, Jeff P. Jeff P, when you start acting like this?
The contrast between Vegas and Chicago couldn't be more stark. The Aces have players who show up regardless of circumstances, who support each other through adversity, and who understand that championship culture requires daily sacrifice. The Sky have a franchise player who disappears when things get difficult and creates social media drama instead of providing leadership. This situation also exposes the fundamental difference between being a star and being a leader. Angel Reese has certainly achieved star status through her college career and social media presence. But leadership requires showing up for others when they need you most. It requires putting the team's needs above your own comfort, and it requires the kind of consistency that builds trust among teammates. Real leaders don't abandon their teams during 8-game losing streak. They don't post cryptic social media messages while their teammates battle through adversity. They don't throw tantrums during games or create drama that gets productive veterans released. Real leaders find ways to make everyone around them better, even when circumstances aren't ideal. The Chicago Sky situation has become a case study in how individual agendas can destroy team chemistry and organizational culture. When your best player is more concerned with protecting her personal brand than helping her team succeed, when your front office makes decisions based on politics rather than basketball merit, when your organization prioritizes short-term publicity over long-term winning culture, you get exactly what the Sky have become, a laughingstock. The most damaging part of this entire saga is how it affects the other players on the roster who are genuinely trying to compete and improve. Camila Cardoso, the rookie center, is trying to develop her game while dealing with the dysfunction around her. Role players are fighting for their careers while their franchise player creates distractions with her absence and social media activity.
So Angel Reese, the most toxic player in all of basketball, is out here slapping clipboards out of her coaching staff's hand because she's so mad her team committed a foul in the crunch after she shot 15 free throws this game. This is the lowest of the low disrespect that you can show to your coaching staff. She trying to get y'all locked in, worried about the next play, and you so toxic with your terrible, awful attitude that you slap the clipboard out of her hand.
These players deserve better than what they're getting from their supposed leader. They deserve a franchise player who shows up regardless of circumstances, who provides encouragement during difficult stretches, and who demonstrates the kind of professionalism that young players can learn from. Instead, they're getting a masterclass in how not to handle adversity as a professional athlete. The ripple effects of Angel Reese's behavior extend far beyond just this season. Young fans who looked up to her are seeing that quitting is acceptable when things get tough. Future teammates will wonder if they can count on her during challenging moments. Coaches considering working with her will question whether she's truly committed to team success or just individual achievement. Tyler Marsh's frustration is completely understandable because he knows he's being judged on results he can't control. He's trying to implement championship principles with players who don't understand championship sacrifice, and he's doing it with a roster constructed by a front office that seems to prioritize politics over basketball decisions. The Sky's season is effectively over, with virtually no chance of making the playoffs, and their franchise player has apparently checked out completely. The team is playing with 8 available players, losing games by massive margins and facing the reality that their most talented player would rather create social media drama than help solve the problems on the court. The questions surrounding this situation extend far beyond just this season. Will Angel Reese get the trade she apparently wants? Will other teams be willing to take on a player with this kind of track record? Will Tyler Marsh's reputation recover from this disaster? Or will he be unfairly blamed for problems that existed long before he arrived? What's certain is that this situation will be remembered as one of the most dramatic franchise meltdowns in recent WNBA history. The combination of poor roster construction, culture problems, and a franchise player who quit on her team during their most difficult stretch has created a perfect storm of dysfunction that will take years to repair. Based on everything we've witnessed, this situation is far from over, and the fallout will likely reshape both careers in ways neither of them anticipated when this season began. The Chicago Sky have become a cautionary tale about what happens when individual agendas take priority over team success, and the consequences will be felt for years to come.